All right. Welcome back to another episode of Rob and Avis Ramble. I'm finding this funny for a reason that our audience out there won't know why I'm finding it funny. We're just going to call it Groundhog Day and we'll go with that.
Ugh.
But we have a great guest here that I'm very excited to have on, who is Tim. He's the Uncharted Father, and one of the accounts that our account follows here on X, and I enjoy immensely. I very often find myself listening to his live streams that he does in the mornings. I think, Tim, you usually just do those. Is that Monday through Friday? I don't think you do them on the weekends, do you?
I don't do them on the weekends. I do, and I don't even really do them Monday through Friday. I mean, I pop in of a morning and I'll fire them off or whatever, just because everybody, I'm driving to work and I was bored, so I figured I'd just stream.
Yeah, well, you may not know this, but I listen to a lot of them, and I'm often there.
Oh
Like
yeah,
sometimes if I'm in the gym, or it just depends on the timing and when it is. But I often like kind of shaking my head in agreement with you. You can't see me doing
I
that,
appreciate
but
that. Yeah,
yeah. But
sometimes I go on pretty good rants. So yeah,
yeah, no, I like it. Well, you have a rant. We're gonna talk about it
Oh,
at some
oh.
point. Yeah, you had a
Oh, I
rant, but
like
like
this
it
one.
literally had me like almost rolling on the floor laughing. But we're
Uh-huh.
gonna talk about that.
great.
So why don't you just real quick, just for the people who may not be familiar with you, give us a quick background. Like, what are you doing on X? Where'd you come from? Why are you here?
Yeah, it's been 8 years or 7 years now. 2018 when I first started as a Red Pill Dad on X. I had basically been divorced for 2 years. I had taught myself. I'd gone through all the gambit of the Red Pill stuff, which was at that point learning. I've been terrible with women my whole life, and my marriage kind of reflected that. And so I was married for 10 years, divorced, went through hell after my divorce, even though my divorce was amicable. I had a lot of issues. Um, and then I just basically red pilled in 2018. And so just started to dive into what all the red pill had to offer. The first book I read was Rollo's Rational Male. Then I read Dr. Robert Glover, No More Mr. Nice Guy. You guys read those books. And then, of course, I get into Ryan Stone and a lot of these, then Roosh and Royce. There's the three R's of the red pill, which are the godfathers of the red pill: Royce, Roosh, and Rollo. And so I kind of dove into those guys, and I started writing. And I basically wrote and I'm now a divorced father of two kids, and just been writing my experience and started the blog unchartedfather.com, moved it over to Substack last year or this year earlier, and I've just taken the hundreds of blog posts and things that I wrote about, and I'm reissuing them on top of writing new things. So just to help men. I mean, essentially that was my goal, was to help men and be
Just
that friend.
spread some of your wisdom and life
Yeah,
experiences
that's it.
and
Yeah.
observation around. Yeah, well, same thing. That's kind of where we're coming from too. Same
Mhm.
idea. You mentioned Rhinestone, and I have I've been pretty upfront. Like the red pill is not something like. Don't ask me about the red pill. Like I'm not a guy who you guys have been studying it for a long time, right? And I'm kind of getting my first exposure to it being on X when we started this account, and I think it's coming up on maybe 2 years. I had this account somewhere in there,
Mhm.
and started reading about it and reading some of these things, and I have found it pretty interesting. I think the things that I'm seeing said is part of, I'm gonna call it the ideology in Rhinestone. That's why I mentioned Rhinestone. He corrected me and said it's not an ideology, but that's how I had been referring to it. But anyway, it's just some things and that I also have observed just naturally in my life, and I think things that have probably played into the success of how long we've been married and that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. So I found it really interesting, and I do think a lot of what the red pill says is good information, and it's probably a lot of true information, right? No matter how much we do or don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
But I wanted to ask you, if I asked you to define the red pill, like what would you say? What is it?
the largest human behavioral study in the history of mankind. Essentially what it is, and it started on a little website called the So Suave Forum, sosuave.com, and it was men who wanted to get good with women. They just wanted to get good with women. Um, Feminism and the sexual revolution and everything changed the entire landscape of what we had to do to get quote unquote laid or to get married or to interact with women in intersexual dynamics. And so basically, a bunch of guys got together, started going out and observing what women do in different situations. And they wrote it down. So it is essentially information by men for men about sexual freedom, navigating the intersexual dynamics between men and women in this new feminized society that we're in, right? So that's about as simple as I can cut it. That's and it's just observational. It's absolute truth, which a lot of people don't want to hear, women especially, because it exposes a lot of um, things that women don't want men to know. So, to me, that right there is a key thing. So, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, and
Well,
um,
I have a question. Is
yeah,
this like Big Bang Theory style? Like nerds in the corner with the paper sending them, you go try this line, or you go, is it like literally like experimental?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because, and I want to mention this. There's a book out there if you've ever read it. It's called The Game by Neil Strauss, who is a reporter with the New York Times who went and reported on pickup artistry in Los Angeles, and he met a guy by the name of Mystery, who is considered to be one of the greatest pickup artists of all time. And all pickup artistry was just nerds studying lines, memorizing, yeah, scripts,
Oh my
but
gosh.
they had to be, they had to be somewhat, I guess, charismatic. They had to have some kind of, and it's something that we call that I think you probably hear a lot of on X, that people don't talk about a lot, but it's a key facet of the red pill, and it's something called game. If you've ever heard that term, and
heard the
essentially
term.
what it
Yeah.
is guys learning how to be socially adept and have charisma and be able to deal with women in, you know, and be attractive to women and gain attraction from women. Yeah, it was basically guys who were autistic who decided. There was one guy, his name was Ross Jeffries, and sometimes you see a video clip of him. He was on Jenny Jones, if you remember Jenny Jones show a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he was talking about, I'm not interested in what women want, I'm interested in what they respond to. That was his big selling point. And he was this nerdy looking guy. He looked like he was part of the Microsoft dev team, for Windows or whatever. And so it's just like, this is that's how he was. And you're like, how in the hell can he get women? And they did. They basically scientific method the the game of attraction. It was pretty funny. It's funny you mentioned it that way.
Yeah, and would you? I mean, so you kind of mentioned pickup artist, right? That like would you term that as manipulative or like what is it? Like it's not. It's and let me just give you some background on why I'm asking this question
Mhm.
because I would say that just from my point of view there is a point to life and people and women and men and all that and I think the ideal is we should be meeting and moving towards marriage because that's what's good for us, that's what's good for
Mhm.
society, like all that sort of stuff, right? But is that sort of pickup artist lifestyle, is it is it for that purpose or is it more just I'm just trying to sleep with a bunch of women.
Well, and you have to think about it this way. When they were doing it in the game, especially the book, um, it was about the notch. And I have a article that I wrote, and it's I think it's coming out like here in the next couple of weeks, that I wrote it a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, and it's called The Almighty Notch. And what it became, at first, pickup artistry was just men getting better with women. What it became was a game, and it became men wanting to sleep with as many women as possible, because that, in one way or another, we can analyze the hell out of it if we want. But in one way or another, a man who is able to sleep with multiple women is society looks up to that, right? They look up. There is a it means a man has expertise in an area that a
Mhm.
lot of men don't have expertise in. And so And I've always talked about blurred lines with manipulation and whatnot, because I could say that makeup's manipulation. I could say that filters are manipulation. I can see that camera angles are manipulation, or women lie about their weight all the time and their age and
Sure.
whatnot. And I don't call that manipulation. I specifically call that, it's just bullshit, right? It's just straight up, they're not being honest, and that's okay. I mean, because it seems like most pickup artists aren't being really honest either. Most of them start off, they're very bad socially, so they have to memorize lines. They have to pretend to be something they're not. And women have this internal intuition. It's the greatest thing in the world that men don't have. Women's intuition is fantastic. And women can sense most of the time when a man is full of shit, right? It's when they can't. And pickup artists were able to manipulate that, if you want to call it manipulation. They were able to score through that. And but I mean, Mystery's love life it really isn't a mystery. I mean, honestly, he was basically all about the woman. He's all about the notch. He's all about getting the lays, getting the lay count, and that was what it became. It became a game. And so he has not had, as far as I know, very good long-term relationships. He's burned through women like toilet paper. So.
And are these, because I noticed, like, to me, it seems like there's a little bit of like a split in the red pill-esque world, whatever we want to call that, where you've got the men who are very like shaming of women because they have a high body count, right? They've slept with a lot of men. They've got but you kind of have to have those women out there if you're going to have the men out there that are doing that, right? And then you've got the other side of it, which I'm thinking more of kind of like this pickup side. And I don't really see them being so shameful of slutty behavior because they kind of rely on that, right? But am I wrong in that? I mean, is there kind of that deviation?
It's not a split. And here's the thing. This is, once again, if you are shaming women for body count, that's not red pill. It's black pill. It's not red pill. Red pill doesn't care about, and I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to dismiss it, but red pill doesn't care about women. It doesn't care about what they do, what they're doing in their off time. All the red pill is information for men. It is basically telling men, hey, this is how you operate with women. And it doesn't concern itself with the morality of a body count for women. As far as the red pill is concerned, and something I always say online is like, you'll never know her body count, so why do you care? It shouldn't care. And men are like, oh, what about, what is it? What about the bonding, the bonding and stuff? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I think in Nuclear Codillo, if you guys follow him online, I refer to him. He's one of the young guns out there that's starting. It's very red pill.
Yeah.
And he's dating Pearl, I think, still.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Pearl's not red pill either, but I think essentially it's who cares about body count? And what Rollo will say, and Rollo, I agree with Rollo on this, is like biology trumps it all. Men and women, people may disagree. Women like a man who is experienced. And men don't mind a woman who's experienced. So, and how are you going to get experience? I mean, you're going to have sex, and you're going to want to explore, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think. I think the body shaming movement is stupid. Just to be clear.
How do you? Because I would say, I mean, I arguably you could say I never dated really. I mean, and in high school I had.
He had girlfriends.
A carousel of girls.
A carousel
Probably.
of girls. Ooh, a carousel of girls. Ooh, we're getting into it.
Now we're talking about funhouse rides now. We're good shit there.
But Avis and I, we went to high school prom together, and we've been together ever since, right? So like to say that I've ever dated, like this is not like a thing that's really been on my radar in my world, right?
Yeah, no.
But I think about, like I am like very possessive of my wife, and I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. And just coming from my point of view, I think I would struggle with like, well, it's like, I don't want to think that there's, I mean, my wife's had sex with 100 different dudes, right? Like that's not like attractive to me.
Yeah.
But this is also just my angle that I'm coming at it from based on my life experience and where I've been at. And it's like, I'm just curious, like how do you, is this is something that men just have to let go of? Like they're not like maybe they're looking at it more pragmatically, I guess is what I hear you saying is.
And yeah, I mean, the thing about it is you can't the guys that are concerning themselves, and I'll say this in general, the single guys who are talking about and just overwhelmed with body count with women, right? Those are the guys that probably don't have a lot of women, right? Because and it's fine to have standards. It's perfectly fine. And most of the time, the red pill gives you some pretty good discerning qualities about women that you want. But women you'll never know. Women they don't have to tell you. Now, if you find a woman that's really into you, right? And you just can't let it be you can't let it just dictate how you're going to pick women because you'll never find a woman. What number is too much? She may tell
Mm.
you 6, right? Some guys may go 6, that's great. Other guys may go, oh, that's too much. I got to have a virgin. And it's like
Yeah.
the guys that want these virgins, like they're probably my age, a little bit younger. They might be late 30s,
Right.
early 40s, right?
Yeah.
And the only virgins I know of at that particular point that don't have problems are women who are younger, 18 to 21 or
Well,
whatever, and even
or
that's
younger, honestly. I mean, how many
yeah,
sex is, I mean, let's just face it, kids are having sex in high school. I
they
was,
are.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So society and feminized society is basically encouraging women to go out and have sex, and that's the Sheryl Sandberg thing where she's like, sleep with the bad boys, sleep with as many men as you can, then settle down with the good guy. And then we're seeing the fallout from that. But it's like you're just never going to know, and it is one of those things where you can only control, and this is pure red pill stuff. Control what you can control, and you cannot control who she slept with. You cannot control her past. You cannot control her future. It is one of the sayings where she's not yours; it's just your turn.
Mhm.
And it's a very strong saying. And Ryan Stone actually has a Red Morning where he actually breaks down that discussion. And it's basically just communicating to men that it doesn't matter. She's here with you now. Enjoy that. Enjoy the fact that a woman is in your life, and stop sweating the small crap.
Yeah, and I think where that I can kind of maybe see that going off the rails a little bit is and why I think, so many men are against marriage is because it gets a little more complicated with marriage, especially with the government involved, right? And I'm
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of government. I want the government out of marriage altogether. I've
Mhm.
been pretty vocal about that, right? But if marriage as an institution, I think is good,
Mhm.
and I that's why I say spiritual marriage, not legal marriage.
Mhm.
Um, but I think, if it does get complicated, kind of having that attitude of right, because now it's like there's consequences to maybe not caring. And I've kind of said, on our account, and I've shared, I think maybe one of the things I've done right in our relationship is I do think you have to kind of not care, and not care in a way that, I mean, like, obviously, like if Avis is going out and having like some affair on me, that's the
Mhm.
problem, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
relationship's done, it's over with. Move on with your life. I'm done with you, right?
Mhm.
But it's where was I going with this?
I have no
It
idea.
was like I have no idea. I know where I was going with this. So it just, but kind of like taking this, like, I don't care about the government being involved in our marriage. Like, yeah, like the government has enabled Avis to have some power that if she wanted to hurt me, she could, right?
Mhm.
Men and women with guns are happy to come and, back her right to, take half my
Mhm.
stuff if they want to. But I've kind of adopted this, like, just fuck it attitude is what I call it. And like, I know that exists. I'm not going to let that steer my behavior. But I think a lot of men in marriages do, and I think that's kind of where I was trying to go with what you were saying is like,
Mhm.
it can they really not care? I would say the answer is yes, but I know a lot don't.
Yeah.
When you get the state involved in marriage.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think men play scared. If that's a term you guys can kind of figure with. I mean, men play scared. I think women like men who don't um, sweat the small stuff. They are basically, this is, and they're very good at communicating their positions on many things and without compromise on a lot of things, right? There's a reason women follow, right? And it's like we think a lot of red pill guys are, single, fucking in their parents' basement, blah blah blah, whatever.
That's true.
They're
Yeah,
they're these guys. They're these keyboard warriors. They're angry, and if you actually look at real red pill guys, right? Nuclear Cardio, he's in them. He's dating Pearl now. Pearl's Pearl. She's fine. But they're dating. Rollo has been in a marriage for 30 years.
yeah. Which
He's
which blew blew me away when I learned that, because like I said, I'm just kind of learning the last couple of years about red pill, and I know he's
Mhm.
probably maybe considered the godfather of red pill, whatever
Yeah.
that means. But yeah, I was really surprised to hear that he was married, because my perception of him has been that he's very anti-marriage, and I don't know if that means he's anti-marriage like I'm like anti-state involved in marriage, or if he's just straight up anti-marriage state or not. I don't know, but
He's anti-state, but I think he's also he also understands that marriage is only as strong as the man that leads it. And his wife, from what I'm understanding, he was in a band and he met her at a club and she was his biggest fan.
mm,
And that's how she wrote. And Rollo has been happily married for 30 years. He's never strayed. He's been, and people forget that because he can chafe at you a little bit. And I disagree with Rollo on certain things too, but it's like, it's not a big deal. Right. I mean, that's one thing Ryan Stone's married. He's been married quite a long time. I mean, a lot of these guys who are red pill, even like some of the, Jack Napiers and those guys, Jack's not necessarily married, I don't think, but he knows what he wants, right? He's doing what he wants to do. The red pill gives men sexual freedom. So if they want to be in a long-term relationship and a marriage like myself, yes, go right ahead. If you want to have a harem, if you want to, have a rotation of girls, go right ahead. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't take into account morality, and the red pill is what we call amoral. It has no morality. It is merely just a study, and it shows what men can do in all of these situations if they want whatever they want. And this is how they attain it. It's why if you guys follow Fort Worth Playboy, he quotes Royce a lot. Follow him. He's great. I've known the man for a long time. And he basically just, yeah, he might come off as a bit brash. He might come off as a bit chauvinistic as well. But I mean, that's he wants to do different things. I don't think he's married, but I think he's got a long-term girlfriend. He might have a wife. I don't know if she's a wife, but anyway, it's like you could do whatever you want with it, and the proof is in the pudding. And most of these guys have the chops, the relationship chops. So I think another one would be Rich Cooper. Rich is another one
mm,
that's one of the kind of the original guys, and he doesn't want to be married. He wants to just, and he does some stuff like that. So
yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So you had mentioned the black pill. So how does so we've kind of talked a lot about the red pill. I mean, what is the black pill? And I think I've even heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you even yourself at one point were kind of black pilled. I think you had
mhm.
said. Like what is the difference? What's the
There is and the one thing I say that Rollo doesn't that Rollo disagrees with me with, and we don't talk, is you take the red pill once, and it either takes or it doesn't. And somehow you've got some programming in there that basically just does not allow you to absorb it. And so you can either, once you take that red pill, and we obviously loosely use the Matrix as that. That's when it came out. That's when the red pill came out. So that's why it's connected. But basically, you can go one of three ways. You can continue to stay in this blue pill conditioning where you're basically, and you may never red pill again. You can take your red pill and continue on with the red pill, or you can black pill, and you can come back to the red pill at any point, but it's very difficult to do. But once you black pill, essentially, black pill is absolutes. I always call it that way. When you see a statement online from anybody that, in terms of female dynamics or whatever, that are absolutes, the wall, right? Women hit the wall. All women hit the wall. all women are looking to
Yeah.
monkey branch,
That
get into
that that if you wanna get me going, like, yeah, you're touching on something that's, like, just
yes,
an absolute I hate absolutes 'cause
yeah,
it's never the case, right?
things
It
that
may be the majority, but
enrage
it's never absolutes. Yeah.
right, exactly, and it's things that enrage me as well because 'cause I'm sitting here and I'm looking at and Rich Cooper does it because it's easy to market to these guys because they'll eat it all up. They need that dopamine hit for black pill. So Rich will say, "Women, uh, wait at the finish line and screw the winners." Right? That's a thing that Rich comes out with. That's
Yeah.
not red pill.
It's okay to say "fuck" on this if you want.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
I've already said it once and I figured, like, nobody
Yeah.
I don't I'm just trying to save you guys, like, beeps or whatever, so,
Yeah, no, we're fine. I'm not beeping on anything.
but any but, just that kinda stuff. Those types of absolutes, Pearl does it too, and Tate does it, and Myron does it, and whatever podcast does it, because the black pill generates clicks because people want absolutes. They wanna be able to just count on the fact that women, when they hit their mid-40s, are going to be unattractive,
Yeah.
or women, if I'm not a winner and I'm a loser, women aren't going to even give me the time of day, which there are guys right now who are sleeping with beautiful women who have a mattress on their floor, who just got out of jail, and they but we don't but we want absolutes. We crave absolutes because that's exactly how it's got to be. And you have to these guys in black pill divulges into uh Volcel, which I inceldom, I don't believe incels exist. It's just it is a moniker that doesn't exist in real life. There's voluntary celibate because they could you could sleep with any woman, no matter how ugly or how overweight. There are women out there that would find you attractive. Um, but then you get into like looks maxing, if you guys have ever thought about that, where guys are worried about their height. They go and they have plastic surgery to get their chin out. I mean, just really crazy off the wall crap that this black pill does because men, they're convinced that you have to be tall, rich, and successful in order for women to like you. And some of the biggest like billionaires out there, like Elon Musk, right? He's really awkward socially. He's got some autism
Mhm.
there, right? And Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, right? I mean, these are guys who are not adept in social situations. Their money gives them an advantage, but I mean, that's the black pill. I mean, it essentially just tells you that there's nothing you can do. You are screwed. This will happen no matter what, and deal with it. I mean, that's basically what it does, and it's very disheartening.
Yeah. And it's just so disingenuous too, and that's kind of like you mentioned some names, and I won't necessarily repeat them, but I know a lot of these same accounts I see, and they talk in these absolutes, and man, it's just like I hate it because I feel like there are men out there that maybe they're not maybe I mean I know the guys that are already what you're saying calling black pilled, like they're already there, their mind is there, right? You're probably not. I mean, maybe you get through to them, but they've already bought into it. That's their mindset, but. I think about the men out there that maybe they're not quite black pilled, but then one of these, large influencer accounts puts out some statement like what you said, and it's like they latch onto that, and it becomes a worldview for them now, right? And it's just like I hate it because it's like, why can't we just have real, genuine conversations? Like, and I think part of the challenge with that is, especially in like platforms like social media and X and all that, like you can only say so much, right?
Mhm,
And then there's pages of context on either side of that you don't have. But if you just kind of take this and somebody
mhm,
adopts it as this black pilled worldview, and now their whole life is spun out in this weird direction because Rich Cooper said women hang out to finish line and fuck the winner, right? Like
mhm.
it's yeah,
And
agitating.
it doesn't motivate you. It basically, they want to motivate you, right? But in the bottom line of it is, okay, and this is from just observing other men who I'm with in the fraternity of excellence who were part of the red pill movement earlier on. Zach Small and those guys, they were more of the family red pill, kind of that kind of thing. And he's been married since high school too. So, but these guys were at 21 conventions, right? If you ever heard of 21 Con, that was the big
Mm-mm.
convention. So there was a Red Pill convention, and if you guys have ever heard of Anthony Dream Johnson, he was the organizer of it, and they had him in Orlando, Florida, from like 2017, 2018, all the way through until the pandemic hit. And you had the who's who of the red pill, the male improvement space, kind of down there. You had Tanner Guzzi and you had Rich Cooper, you had Ryan Stone. I don't think Ryan went to any of them, though. I'm not entirely sure. You had Rolo. And there was like a united front, right? And Anthony Dream Johnson kind of set it up. And then you get your other red pill guys like, there's just a bunch of different ones. And so they had this convention this weekend in Orlando, and many of the guys were there were genuine, but most of the guys that were there were like, I want to get rich, and the way to get rich is to sell the black pill, because men will eat that shit right up, and it's a shame, but unfortunately, that it's what sells, and outrage sells, and it's just and that's why people like me who aren't terribly popular, right? But I piss off everybody. That's my job, is to basically tell everybody that I kind of believe this, and I'm just going to stick in this middle ground. But I piss off black plug guys all the time, or I have conversations with MGTOW, which means men going their own way, which is a kind of a black pill light, where they just swear off of women. They just don't want to deal with women anymore. They've been hurt so bad that they are just they won't even deal with women. So they just go into this little shell. And so that's why those are the men I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach the black pill guys and the MGTOW guys, because they are so embedded in this. I mean, you see it all the time. You see it on TikTok. You see it on IG. These short little 30-minute or 30-second clips of Rich Cooper in his car saying, "Women stay at the finish line and fuck the winners," or whatever podcast with whoever's on there, right? And Earl, and it's just, guys have that mentality, and it just bombards them. And there's just not much you can do about it.
And it's so, like, Avis knows sometimes, like, especially, I'm out there looking, and sometimes Pearl, like, we talk about Pearl, right? So sometimes Pearl will say something, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I kind of get that. It makes sense. And other times I'm like, what the fuck? Like, 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 you are confusing so many men and women, and you're just, it's just a bunch of grifting bullshit. Like,
it's just rage bait. Yeah, it's just rage bait. And so that's why if you peel it back a little bit, and that's why, when I went on to Substack, I found a lot of red pill guys on there, and they were just like, "We're done with X. It's stupid. We need it. We want to reach a man who actually really wants to help himself."
Yeah.
And so they jump on to Substack, and if you look up Ryan Stone on Substack, if you look up all these guys on Substack, Strippers, another one, great account. Man of Steel, these are all Substack accounts. These are all guys who are anonymous, but who are still preaching the red pill and still giving men actionable information. And so that's why I went there. It seems like it was just a better environment for men to learn, because men need to get that black pill shit out of their head and get away from it, because you're bombarded with it and it sucks. So I think that's
so. How did you pull yourself out of that mindset?
Well, they're phases, and men go through them. If you've been hurt as a man, you will go through these phases, and they just aren't destinations. They're just stop-offs. It's almost like the coping, the 5 steps of, coping with loss or trauma or whatever, right? It's, acceptance or denial, whatever, right? The 5 ones, I don't remember what they are. But anyway, this is the same thing. So when I got divorced, I basically denied that I'd been divorced, and then went into this anger phase where I was just like, fuck women, I hate them, this is stupid, they, and blah, blah, blah. You just go through that phase. Then you go through the I don't really need women phase, and that's that MGTOW, where you kind of just are in this little section, like, I'll just deal without women. Then you can come out of those. There's a lot of men that don't come out of those. They just stop. They stop at black pill. They stop at the anger phase, and they get very upset. Then if someone will go to MGTOW, go, well, women, I just don't want to deal with women. And then if you pull yourself out, that's where the magic of the red pill happens. Because then, now it was self-destructive for me. I will say this. That was my PUA phase, which is where I was just like, I am I was tired of being bad with women my whole life. I figured my marriage was a direct result of that. So I just said, screw it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get good with women and I'm going to learn how to pick up women. And I went and I did networking. I went to clubs. I went to, and this is me as a single father too, so think about how self-destructive that was. But
Mm.
I had a revolving door on my old house where I had women, just didn't matter. They were just, if they were damaged, I didn't care. I wanted to be better with women. So then eventually you get to that point where you almost come to the realization like this is self-destructive. Don't do this. And then you kind of move forward and you start taking the red pill for what it really is and stop, you know, hurting yourself, I guess. Because those phases, all those phases, you're hurting yourself as a man. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Avis, you've been pretty quiet. You're just sucking us all in, and you're
Yeah,
like,
I feel like I've asked Rob to define red pill so many times, and now I understand it's just the rules of the game. It's the rules of engagement, and you do with whatever you want with those rules.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
This is just
Tim's
like,
given a much better
yeah,
explanation of it than what I would say, but you've also
mm,
decades you've been living with
yeah.
this stuff, which is not something I could say.
I
But
find this all just very,
yeah.
like you said, I'm just taking it all in. I've just learned I'm the subject of a study, the biggest study ever.
Yeah, and it's analytical, right? Men have to be analytical because we are
Yeah,
incapable. I mean, we're not incapable of being emotional, right? We just can't handle it. Women are so much
yeah.
better at emotional management than we are. We can't even get emotional intelligence down most of the time. So we have to be
Yeah.
analytical. We have to have a blueprint because if we don't have a blueprint, then it's like then we're just shooting in the dark. That's how men are. We have to be that way. And so that's what the red pill was basically designed for. It was just guys going out and this worked with this woman or this, and then they started compiling everything. Go to So Suave. You guys will, your jaw will drop. There is enough information on So Suave. There's a guy by the name of Pook, Pook, who that was the first guy that I interacted with on So Suave. And he had like, I don't know if it was 19 or 20 things to remember or things to know about women. And it just, because guys weren't concerned about trashing women, they were concerned about, trying to prove them wrong, trying to hold them accountable, which is what we see all these things do. They were just interested in enjoying women. That's all they're interested in. Women are enjoyable. Women are fun if you know how to play the game correctly. And they can enrich your life in so many awesome ways. But these guys are just like, they don't see that. They would just rather rail and shake their fist at the sky and go, I hate, why is it like this? And it's like, you could be the ugliest son of a gun out there. And if you have game, you could probably get yourself some women and enjoy them. That's what they're there for. They would say the same thing about, men, but men are also, we have utilities and we are there to help. But it's like what the bottom line is enjoy. Women are awesome and you should enjoy them. I love talking to women. I love interacting with women. I'm in a yoga teacher training and I'm doing yoga and it's 25 women for one man. And I get women and it's awesome to interact with them and talk to them and of all ages. Doesn't matter. There's women who are in their 60s who are awesome. There's women who are in their 20s who I interact with. I've dated anywhere. The youngest woman I've ever dated is 24. The oldest woman I've dated is now she's 50. So, it's like
holy shit, she's old.
yeah, like there's a gambit, but it's like guys are like, oh, she's got to be, younger women. I want a younger woman, and I'm an old. These guys are just deluding themselves, thinking they're these high value men, and they're really not. But it's like they're just deluding themselves. I have to have a 20-year-old woman or 21-year-old woman. If that's what you want, the red pill provides that. You can go and get yourself a younger lass if you want. I prefer the sassy kind of women my age, maybe 10 years. I'm talking to I was talking to women who are in their mid to late 30s, right? They're great, but it doesn't matter. It's like I'm 49, I don't care. I just want to enjoy women and I like just be attractive. I'm trying to be as attractive as I can be and be attractive to them and they be attractive to me, but there's some smoking hot 40, 50, 60-year-old women out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't matter. Who cares? But there's so many black pill rules and bullshit out there, and it's just like, just enjoy women for God's sakes. They're beautiful creatures. Enjoy them. They're a lot of fun.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
No.
Ava's just speechless. You left Ava speechless, Tim.
I keep flashing back to the just don't be fat
Oh, you want to talk
rant.
about that now? Okay.
I do. Because
So,
while age might not be a factor, certainly body weight is.
so Avis is, so you did a live. I can't remember how long ago it was. I don't think it was
Yeah.
like super long ago. And
No.
I was watching it, and then Avis came in. I was like dying of laughter. I mean, I was like tears rolling down my eyes. She's like, "What is so funny?" I was like, "You got to listen to this." And it was you. We were just going off one of your morning lives, and you were like, ladies, it's not hard. Just don't be fat. Just don't be fat. You just kept repeating it. It was, I don't know if you were having a morning or if this was just like
a mental break, maybe.
or just,
Yeah,
just like an epiphany, but
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I have been on my own weight loss journey, right? I've lost, I lost 93 pounds at one point. And I'm back up to, I think I'm in my 230s now. I'm in a cut right now, but it's like, I was doing pickup when I was a fat ass, right? And it didn't go well. Let's just put it that way, as you could probably imagine, because women don't like fat guys. I mean, the dad bod thing, ladies, don't. Let's be honest, okay? You don't want a fat guy. People just don't want fat
no,
people.
everybody
I
likes
mean,
fit people. That's just a fact.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying that in terms of and I talked to Kevin. I look at Kevin Samuels when I think about this. He's another kind of red pill guy that was kind of black pilled a little bit too, mixed it in like Rich Cooper does a little bit. But I mean, he still has quality stuff. But it's like men are visual creatures. That doesn't change anything. And I think the biggest issue and the red pill gets a lot of hell because people don't know what it is. But I think that's a big thing. Men are just like, look, men are visually stimulated. That's just how we are, and it's not going to change anything. And we like a nice body. She doesn't have to be perfect. She doesn't have to be this thin supermodel. I certainly am not looking for a supermodel. I'm looking for a cardio bunny or somebody who's in relatively good shape, takes good care of themselves. And I've found many women in my age group that are like that. And it's just guys are visual, and we don't need big boobs or a nice ass. I mean, it helps, but it's like just be relatively attractive, right? Just be something that that you're appealing to, because the marketplace is fickle. The sexual marketplace is very fickle. Kevin Samuels talks about that a lot. And it's when you're in a relationship, I think people let themselves go a lot. And I don't think that's something you should do. And I think you guys, preach, date your wife, continue to date your spouse, and give them your best. And I think that's so important. Be your best, be the best you can be, ladies and gentlemen. And you will have a much easier time finding a spouse, somebody that you can spend a long time with.
Yeah. You're right. And um, that is one of the things. I mean, I don't shy about saying it. And Avis and I've always had a pretty just honest relationship, and we'll have the hard discussions. Right. When she got pregnant with our first kid, I mean, I've said this in one of our posts, and I had some hate for it from some women, but hey, this is how it goes. But I told Avis, I said, look, one of my biggest concerns here is I see a lot of women get pregnant, they blow up, and now it's I got this fat wife, right? It's like I'm not going to find that attractive. And what is that going to do to our marriage? And now we got a kid and we got all this, and just being honest with her about it, right? And and on her behalf, she was receptive to it. And
Well, I didn't want to be fat either.
she didn't want to either, but just
Nobody wants
for,
to be, right?
but for me to be able to say that, and hey, if we want our marriage to work, the attraction has to be there, right? We're visual, just like you said, right?
Mhm.
We got to have that visual component being met. But on my half, and it's, again, something I kind of like to preach about is I also have to be realistic and enable her to be able to be that for me. And that's part of it.
Mhm.
Right. So I can't say to her, hey, you need to go work 60 hours a week at your job. You need to clean the house. You need to take care of the kids. And by the way, you need to be like a fit model, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just not real world. Can't do
Nope.
it. She doesn't have hours in a day, right? So, I think those are just the kind of things you need to be real about. And in our case, she stopped working when we had our first kid,
Mhm.
and we just kind of like, but fitness and like her keeping herself fit, like that was very top of the list. Like, I literally like we sat down and it was like, okay, like here's like the top 10 priorities and let's order these, right? And fitness is like right up there at the top of the list. And it's like, I'd rather the house be dirty and you're kind of working on, your fitness than because to
Mhm.
me, like I'm not, I don't have sexual attraction to fucking the house. I have sexual attraction to fucking you.
Right.
Right. So like, let's work on you and the house, it can come secondary. So it is
Yeah.
important. And we need to
Yeah.
be honest about that. Right.
It's a great point. Like I said, you've demonstrated two things that are just amazing. Is the number one is that your communication is on par, right? And number two, it's you as a man set the example that she follows, right? And so it's if you give her space to do those things where she can be successful, like, and you don't push, because a lot of women feel the pressure. They are working 60 hours a week and they are raising kids. And you have to be the, the catalyst. So I always like to say I always quote this, and one of my favorite quotes that I ever had was, it's not your, it's not your, or it's your, the good news is it's your fault, or the bad news is it's your fault. The good news is it's your show. And so you determine it as the man. And so I would never ask for a woman to lose weight and not be fat if I was fat myself, right? I've still got work to do. I'm still busting my ass at the gym. I'm still doing yoga. I'm very active as a 49-year-old guy. And I would not ask for a woman to, and she wouldn't want the same for me. It's right. Women are visual too. Women like
Mhm.
attractive, strong, masculine man, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So I would not ask a woman for something that I was not providing myself. And if I wasn't providing it, I would sure as hell want her to tell me that, so that I can get my shit together. Because marriage is a two-way street. And we've seen so many marriages that where people aren't having sex, where
Mhm.
there's no communication, where everybody's just kind of, and I'm not one to really talk about it because my only marriage in my life has failed, but I do know that I've seen, hundreds of marriages through men that I've counseled that have gotten better because men have taken responsibility and said, listen, I've got work to do. We've all got work to do. Let's get to work because I love you and I want you to be in my life for the rest of my life. And so when you do that, all of a sudden women are like, "Ok," and you don't have to bark at them and you don't have to yell at them and say, "You have to do this or I'm not going to be attracted to you anymore." You basically just say, "Look, we're on the same team. So let's work together on this because guys, I think we can get there." And that's it. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely communication. Some of my friends, they'll scoff, I'll say, Rob will, if I gain a pound, Rob will be like, I mean, I'm sure not every time, but he can see it.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. I can see that. Right.
Yeah. And he'll be like, "Are you gaining weight?" And I'll tell my friends this, and some of them are just like, "Oh my god, like he actually says that?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, better 1 pound than 50 pounds later when he's
Mhm.
like, you're not attractive. Like,
Right,
what
because it's
happened?"
it's so much more achievable, and it's not as daunting, right? You look at somebody and
Yeah,
say, "Hey, you need to lose 5 pounds." Well, you know what? I can do that in a month
Mhm.
without having to even really try that hard, right?
yeah,
But now if it's 50 pounds, like, that's a lot more hanging over your head, right? And it's a lot
Yeah.
more kind of, like, in your headspace. So I think,
yeah.
yeah, speak up early.
And then
Kids
I'm
have
like,
to.
"So what? For like 45 pounds, you were unattracted to me, and you just like didn't say anything?"
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm obviously a 1 pound difference is it's a bit extreme, but like having those communications early and sooner and just knowing what your partner expects, I think is a much more gentle marriage than a dead marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what happens if you, as a husband, you pack her lunch and you're cooking for her and you're doing things to help her achieve that, right?
Yeah.
She'd be doing the same thing for me. There's a couple on Twitter, if you guys have a chance to follow them. They're two of my they're really great friends. I don't get to see them enough.
Hmm.
But it's sociopathlete. His name is Noble Brown, and his wife is Sarah.
Oh, I've seen
Brown.
that account, Noble Brown.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Noble. His wife is Sarah. Okay,
Okay.
they have a very strong marriage, and they are just two of the most awesome people ever. And he's the one that coined the phrase uh, "all women are nuts." Just pick one that looks good in a bikini. It's one of my favorite that
Yeah.
he has,
Yeah,
and
that's
he's just
funny.
like he's like all women are crazy. Pick one that looks good in a bikini, and that's
I
his.
identify with that.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
wife is amazing. Sarah's awesome, and every weekend I tag them I find these crazy energy drinks that they really like, and I tag them in it. But their marriage is kind of my relationship goals. Them and like Gia McCool, who I've known for quite a while. But I mean, they're the kind of
I told Gia
relationship.
today, actually, we were getting together and having a live stream with you. And she said, "Oh, I
Yeah,
love Tim. I'll look forward to that."
yeah,
So,
she's awesome. You know, she's had me on once for talking about divorce and whatnot. But they're just good people, right? And those are the people I emulate. Those are the people I want to those are the relationships because they're strong. It's like I remember they were talking about the daunting task of losing weight. It's like or what Noble was talking about because his wife was training for a bikini show, right,
mhm.
bodybuilder show, and he comes down and she's cooked everything. She's like he goes, I love her, so I'm in this with her. She's doing it, so I'm going to do
Yeah.
it with her, and I'm going to help her. And that's, in my opinion, the real essence of the red pill. That's male leadership, and men are the frame. And I think Gift said this: men are the frame, women are the painting, right? And that's
Mhm.
real male leadership. That
Yeah.
is bringing your wife a cup of coffee in the morning. It's not simp behavior. It is leadership.
Right.
It's
It-
building something with your wife and doing it with her, like teamwork. And I would want my wife to do the same thing. I would want her to be there, right, and do those things with me because nothing says fucking ride or die like ride or die, right? You're in this
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You're in this nut house together. Let's Thelma and Louise that bitch over the crevice there, and let's knock it out. So those are people you guys and those two just are people I look up to for relationships because it's like do it together, and you guys are really. I mean, it's
Well,
amazing.
we appreciate that. I think there's a
Yeah.
common theme I'm hearing here, though, is that your wife needs to get involved in bikini competition. Avis used to do that too. So Avis also competed in NPC, and that was one of the
Yeah.
vehicles that she kind of used as just a motivation for her to. So
Mhm.
it's kind of I've heard you mention 3 people. I know that all were kind of in that space.
Yeah,
So
and they were,
maybe,
and
hey, maybe
Alex
this is
is
the key.
I dated a gal by the name of Allie Covington, and she's married now. But she's same way, and her husband. I don't know Chris that well, but just they do it together. Everything is together. Like we're going to go whatever challenges are hitting. It could be anything like bikini competition, or it could be like cancer, or something fucking big like that. And if you know that person's got your ass and you've got their ass, that's what you want in marriage. That's what you're about. So
I was gonna say, it cracks me up when every now and then we are at odds with somebody, and then they try to play Rob against me or me against Rob, and
You talking
I'm
about it
like,
on X?
or just in life.
Oh, in life. Okay.
Yeah, just generally speaking, but yeah. And I'll be like, "Psh, you can't play him against me. We're on the same team.
mhm.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't work."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Avis has always been very good about that. And any friends she's had in her life that are kind of, speaking negativity about their own marriages and their own and just trying to convince and drag her down. She's been pretty good about just cutting that off and saying, you know what, I don't need that. Like,
Yeah, and that's what you see that a lot. People will try to divide and conquer, and it's only because they are projecting their own inefficiencies or inequalities in their own marriage. Because it seems like misery loves company.
mhm.
So
mhm.
that's the same thing with the black pill. It's the crabs in the bucket mentality, which is what I learned through the red pill is the crabs will pull the crab that's trying to escape out of the bucket. The crabs at the bottom of the bucket will pull him down because it's just people just they don't want people to be happy. Because if you're happy, you don't give a shit about other people, right? It's just like, I don't care. I just want to be around people that are cool as hell, and really upping levels of their lives. But you find out very quickly who is with you and who's against you, and it's a shame that they try to play you off, because it's like, what is it? Kevin Samuels always says, "Single women keep women single." Single
Mhm.
women friends, they don't want they're not happily married, so they sure as hell don't want you happily married. So,
No.
choose your women's friends wisely. But I've seen it so many times that I even have male friends that are like that, where they're basically, they're thinking about, they look at what I'm doing, and like they're just jealous. And it's not like, jealousy comes from below, hate comes from below. You just
Yeah.
have to put through it. But I honestly, I think you guys are showing, just like it seems like a lot of these couples, red pill couples, even, just they're just very, I don't give a shit. We're in this together,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter about anything else, and that's what's great. That's that, that's that team mentality that I'd love to see from other marriages, and I'd love to have a marriage like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you find it. Yeah.
You know what? I used to be cynical about it, but I'm in a good place, and I am. I remember going through women, and just going through the relationship roulette, where I'd have these series of these 3-month relationships, one after the other, where it would just be, um, just different women, and I'd learned the red pill that way a lot, and so it was just like, I'm gonna stop. So I just kind of ejected myself from all of that. I didn't do online dating anymore. I went with Taylor Burrows, who is a great follow. If you guys go on her, she's, I wouldn't call her a relationship coach so much as I would call her a perspective that I
Mhm.
needed. And I joined a men's group with her, and it was very helpful. She gave me some perspective that I needed, because I was trying to deprogram the PUA side of me, because it's
Mhm.
not, PUA is not good. Men will tell you it might be, red pill might tell you it might be. And if you want to do that, it's fine. I didn't want to do that. So I had to kind of deprogram myself from the PUA side, because it was all about the notch. And so I ended up doing that, got some good advice, and am confident that I will be able to find somebody, but we'll
Yeah.
see. Like
Well,
I said,
so let me put you on the spot and ask you a kind of a, hopefully it won't be a difficult question, but we'll see.
I love the different
Just
questions.
just in like hindsight of kind of, just the sum total of your life up to this point, and in reflection, of your marriage, and and it falling apart and a divorce and all that. Like what would be out of that experience that you would say to another, maybe like a younger married couple, like what would you say is the biggest thing you learned about that would have made a difference in helping your marriage to kind of survive versus falling apart, as so many do?
Um, Marriage isn't the finish line. The wedding isn't the finish line. Most people think it is. When you get married, you think that it's done, that you are just set, right? That somebody has given you their vows to be with you through sickness and in health and blah, blah, blah. But the wedding isn't the finish line, and the vows are not the last word. And so many people think that that's the case. So they just let off the gas, and they don't cherish their marriage. They don't cherish themselves, and they don't cherish their marriage. I mean, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And marriage is, your marriage must be overfull. And the way you do that is you have to be mindful about who you are, what you're doing, be honest with who you are. I see a lot of marriages where men and women have gone in thinking they're somebody else, because everybody else around them wants them to be somebody else. That was my problem. I was a people pleaser, and I decided that I I let my wife, now ex-wife, my sister, and my mother make me into an amalgam of somebody, and I thought I could just be that amalgam and everything was going to be fine. And I was very miserable with that, and it's what caused me to file for divorce. So I would say, um,
That's an interesting. Let me just stop there. So in your marriage, you were the one who filed, because I know
I
typically
was,
it's women, the majority filed, but in your case, it was you. Okay.
it was, yeah, I was the one that filed. but it was because I had been through 2 years of therapy. I had already, I had committed adultery. So I didn't. The reason I ended up filing was because I just did not see myself in that marriage anymore, and I knew that she needed to. I just couldn't be married to her anymore, and it was just basically that. So when I filed, that's kind of how it kind of manifested itself. But yeah, a lot of men don't file. I did file, but I just knew that it wasn't where I needed to be. And I just pretended. I had found out through therapy and through just doing all the work. I went to a therapist for 3 years. He was great, but he basically just said to me, this marriage isn't what you want. He basically told me that all my problems were boiled down to being somebody I wasn't supposed to be. And that first decision to file for divorce was the real me making a choice. And then ever since then, it's been the real me. So I would not pretend to be somebody you're not to be married to somebody. You need to be very full and cognizant of who you are, what you like, communicate that well, and never stop working for you or your spouse. They're important. They're an important part of your life. You are an important part of their lives. You guys are interchangeable complements to each other, and I think so many people forget that, and they just let off the gas.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I think that's kind of a good um just I see some people sometimes saying things like, "Oh, well, I would never take marriage advice from somebody who had a failed relationship," or "I would never take dating advice from people who are married," or those sort of things. And I don't think that, again, like we were talking about absolutes earlier, like you just can't talk in absolutes because there's something to be learned and there's value and it's kind of maybe this is all like kind of really red pill esque and just studying the what actually is the reality of what is. I think you can learn something from everybody, right? So even though your marriage didn't work out, you have some great reflection and wisdom that came out of that you can share with other people. And I think people should listen to that and kind of heed it.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think you automatically need to look at somebody who's had a failed relationship and say, well, there's nothing they can teach me because I don't think that's true.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, and failure isn't final.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like to say because if you I always sell it as, I just tell you guys what I did and tell you not to do that. Because I learned from that, and you
Yeah.
can and I always say this is you can take my advice, take it or leave it. I'm not an expert. I don't have any accreditations. The only accreditation I have is the School of Hard Knocks, right? And that's what we all have is experience. That's what I can bring to you, and this is what I did in these situations. This is what's working now, and that's why I kind of came upon the name of Uncharted Father because it's like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing most of the time. I,
Sure. Who does?
I'm not trying to pretend that I do. My
Yeah.
weight loss journey was not. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know. I don't know what I'm doing for a lot of these things, but I do know enough, and I have imparted some knowledge that people have taken, and appreciated. With I had a guy on in my fraternity today. He tagged me in a post on Slack, basically saying, hey, your fatherhood advice was amazing. Thank you for that.
Mm.
Because we sat and talked at a meetup in Jacksonville, and I was just like, I get DMs from guys like, thank you. That's who I'm interested in. I'm not interested in follows or rage bait
Yeah.
or trying to get people. I'm interested in men to come out to me and say, hey, your stuff really helped me. I studied your writings. I think I had Josh Lysick uh, messaged me the
I
other day.
I like him. He's a good
I
guy.
like him
Yeah.
too. He's great,
Yeah.
and he messaged me and he said, "You don't realize, but your writings help thousands of men." And I'm like, "Good, they're free,
Mm.
except for my Substack. It's $5 a month, $50 a year, but that's just my new stuff. But they can access my old stuff at any time they want. They can look at it. They can disagree with it. They can agree with it, but they can always look there and go and know that there's something there that might be able to help them. But that's what I'm here for. I'm not here for the follows. I'm not here for I don't want the glory of being, having 100,000 followers. I've been at 14,000 followers on X for forever. I'm not interested in going back there, but I just want to
Which you
help my
probably gained half of those when you said marriages would be better if women
wife
acted
was a
more
porn
like
star.
porn stars. Yeah.
I gained about 1,000 followers on that little tidbit. So it's funny. It's so funny. The things that go viral for me are the first thing that went viral for me was I didn't want to date a fat woman, and Zuby caught that one and retweeted it to everybody in Britain, and I had tons of feminists just all over me. Then another one was I wasn't going to settle for a marriage where there was no sex, and that got a lot of backlash from
That is
conservative women.
shocking.
Like,
So
and
shocking.
and then this last one was the conservative coup de grace when I actually said that women should be the porn stars to their husbands.
Yeah.
And women are like, well, what does that mean? And you see, that's how women overreact. They just don't know. And it's essentially the word is enthusiasm. And
Right.
like you guys said, be enthusiastic about each other. You men want a woman that's enthusiastic about them. Well, what does she got to be enthusiastic about if you're sitting on your ass and you're watching TV and you're eating chips?
Right.
She wants a guy that's got fucking muscles and he's got, a path in life and he's leading her and he's, making plans and he's making moves. And he's like, put on your black dress and we're going to go out to dinner. I'm not telling you where. Don't wear any panties. I mean, that right there is just women are just like that's Red Pill 101. That's guys taking control and learning how to interact with women and be good men.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Tim, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for joining us. And a great conversation. I hope we need to have more. This was fun.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
much.
I'm game. It was a pleasure to be here, guys. Honored. I don't do a lot of podcasts, and when I do them, I'm very excited. So thank you again. It's an honor to meet you guys and talk to you.
Same. Yeah, same.
It was great fun.
Thank you so much. And I guess we'll catch up some other time. We'll definitely be cross posting on X for sure. We'll continue to do that. I'll continue to watch your live streams in the morning, and maybe you give me some more good laughs. It's a good way to start my day.
I don't know if I'm doing one in the morning. I will let you know. I'm pretty sure I am. I've got some things to talk about. I'm not trying to talk about anything that's going on right now in X. I'm more under the radar. So tomorrow I'm sure I'll talk about something, but no, I appreciate it greatly. Thank you again.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you
Thanks,
next
guys.
time.
Appreciate it.
Bye.